The storm outside rattled the steel shutters of Marcus Hale's workshop. Rain fell in sheets across the spaceport, drumming a steady rhythm on the rusted roof above. He worked late that night, welding the broken struts of an old shuttle someone had begged him to patch together. Sparks hissed, the air smelling of hot iron and grease. He almost didn't hear the knock. It was faint at first, hesitant, like the sound of someone too afraid to be noticed. Marcus lifted his welding visor, frowning. No one came out in weather like this. The knock came again. When he opened the door, he found a child. She couldn't have been more than 7 or 8, her small form wrapped in a soaked cloak. Silver eyes blinked up at him from a pale face, framed by hair that shimmered faintly even in the dim light. She wasn't human. Her ears tapered to delicate points, and her skin bore faint, glowing lines, like constellations across her cheeks. I'm lost, she said, voice trembling. Can I stay here? Just for a little while. Marcus looked out into the storm, then back down at her. 1,000 questions burned in his mind. Where her parents were, why she was alone, why a child with markings like those would come knocking on his door of all places. But what he said was simple. Yeah, kid. Come in. The girl's name was Ayra. She sat quietly by the heater Marcus dragged out for her, watching the coils glow with wide eyes. He gave her a blanket and the last of his rations, protein cubes and hot broth. She ate with the desperation of someone who hadn't tasted food in days. Marcus leaned back against the wall, arms folded. Where's your family, Ayra? Her gaze fell to the floor. Gone. He didn't press. He knew loss when he saw it. You can stay here tonight, he said instead. We'll figure something out in the morning. Her silver eyes met his. Thank you. One night became 2. Ayra followed Marcus around the workshop, quiet but observant. She seemed fascinated by everything, the hiss of welding torches, the hum of engine cores, the way grease stained his hands. You fix things, she said softly on the second day. Marcus chuckled. That's the idea. Ships break, people pay me to put them back together. She tilted her head, studying him. And when people break? The question froze him. He forced a smile. Then you hope someone's there to help put you back together, too. Her expression was unreadable, but she nodded. That night, as the storm raged, she hummed softly to herself. The sound was strange, otherworldly, like starlight made audible. Marcus drifted to sleep listening to it, feeling oddly at peace. On the third day, things changed. Marcus returned from a supply run to find 3 strangers waiting outside his workshop. They weren't dockhands or merchants. Too clean, too sharp. Their cloaks shimmered faintly, much like Ayra's markings. One of them stepped forward. His voice was calm, but carried weight. You have something that belongs to us. Marcus stiffened. The girl? The stranger nodded. Ayra. Marcus's chest tightened. If she's your kid, why was she out in the storm alone? She is not a child in the way you think, the stranger replied. His eyes, silver like Ayra's, glimmered. She was placed with you. Placed. Marcus repeated. For a test. Marcus blinked. A test. Ayra stepped out then, her small hand clutching the blanket Marcus had given her. But her gaze was no longer uncertain. It was steady, ageless, carrying wisdom no child's eyes should hold. It's true, she said softly. I am not like you. My people send us out, alone, to see who will take us in, who will show compassion when there is no reward. It is how we measure the worth of those we meet. Marcus stared at her. You mean, I was being tested? Ayra nodded. Yes. And you passed. The words hit Marcus like a hammer. He looked between the strangers and the child, no, the being he had sheltered. So, what happens now? You just take her back. Pretend none of this happened." Ayra stepped closer, reaching out to touch his grease-stained hand with her small, glowing fingers. "It does not vanish. You showed kindness when no one was watching. That matters." One of the strangers inclined his head. "Few in this galaxy give freely to those they see as a burden. You did. That will not be forgotten." Marcus swallowed hard. He wasn't a hero. He was just a tired mechanic who couldn't stand the thought of a kid freezing in the rain. And yet to them, that simple act meant something greater. Ayra's silver eyes softened. "Thank you, Marcus Hale." And just like that, they were gone. The strangers led Ayra away into the rain, their cloaks shimmering until they seemed to vanish into the storm itself. Marcus stood in the doorway, heart heavy. The workshop felt emptier than it had in years. But that night, as he sat by the heater where she had once curled, Marcus noticed something. The tools on his workbench had been arranged neatly. The rations he thought gone had been replaced with fresh supplies, enough to last months. And scratched into the metal wall, in letters that glowed faintly in the dark, were words in a hand too careful to be a child's. "Kindness is never wasted. We will remember." Weeks turned to months. Marcus returned to his routine, fixing ships, patching engines, bartering for parts. But something in him had shifted. He found himself helping more often, offering his time to dockhands who couldn't pay, patching up a drifter's ship for free, sharing meals with hungry workers. He didn't do it for thanks. He did it because of Ayra, because someone somewhere had told him his kindness mattered. And sometimes, late at night, he thought he heard that strange, starlight humming just beyond the walls of his workshop. Years later, when Marcus's own time was near its end, a ship unlike any he had ever seen landed at the spaceport. Sleek, luminous, alive with light. From its stepped figure tall and radiant, silver eyes glowing. Ayra, no longer a child, but grown, her markings brighter, her presence commanding. She knelt beside his chair, taking his worn hands in hers. "You may not remember me as I was, but I remember you, Marcus Hale. You gave me shelter when I was lost. You passed the test." He smiled weakly. Didn't feel like a test. Just felt like the right thing to do. Her eyes shone. That is why it mattered. And as the light of her people's ship bathed the workshop, Marcus understood. His simple act of kindness had rippled across the stars, remembered by those far beyond his world. In the end, he had thought he was giving shelter to a lost little girl. But it was he who had been given something greater, proof that even the smallest kindness can echo into eternity.